Dun, 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 dun. Hey, we got less than a minute for today's message, but welcome aboard because I know that you're watching it on the video anyway. On the video. Oh, Madonna on the radio. Was that Madonna? Because I'm thinking, I was changing the title to on the video. Okay, but that's old school, old school. But hey, old school rules. I like to tell my audiences sometimes, I said, well, this, and I ain't going to give you the long version. I said, well, that's an old school line. I said, hey, but don't laugh at old school lines are the reason some of y'all are here. Because I was talking to them about dating and stuff. But I said, yeah, old school, man, we used to have some lines, old school, stand up. We used to have some good romantic lines, man. Remember what we call it? Now, yeah. Now when they say rap and they're talking about the music and the record, but we used to say rap, like yeah, you talking, yo, oh, what's up, man? We rapping. Oh, the American language is something, isn't it? The English language, but I'm sure that these terms change as well internationally because it's so funny. I actually was listening to African radio station yesterday, and it was the first time I ever heard a rap record and it was in French. Okay, but it's 11 o'clock here, so let's get moving. Goodness to you, and I always say goodness because I don't know whether you're watching morning, afternoon, or evening. But isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Isn't it great to have good in front of your salutation? Welcome to Gift Friday. I created because so often we hear people say TGIF, thank God it's Friday. But I say, what a Lord does Friday have to the person who took their last breath on Thursday or any day before that for that matter? Therefore, I use what I learned in Psalm 92 and 2. It is good to proclaim your unfailing love in the morning, your faithfulness in the evening. And that allows me to not release TGIF, thank God it's Friday, but to have another way of looking at it. And that is I use TGIT, thank God it's today. And then TGIT, thank God it's tonight. Think about it. What does it cost you to have the greatest gift of all, waking up? Doesn't cost you a dime. And that allows me to use another one of my favorite scriptures. And I'm learning to have favorite scriptures, by the way. My ministry brothers always laugh because I say to them, I say, you know what? I don't quote the Bible. I use the Bible. And there is a difference. Maybe I'll make that a post or a broadcast once. Anyway, one of my favorite scriptures, Matthew 6 and 34. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will have its own worries. TGIT, thank God it's tonight. Today's trouble is enough for today. TGIT, thank God it's today, because the darkness always precedes the light. And that does give us another way of looking at TGIF, and that is trusting God is free. Trusting God is free. Remember I said it a couple of slides ago? It doesn't cost you a dime to wake up. Doesn't cost you a thing, not even a penny. If somebody was, yeah, it may not cost a dime, but it's a nickel. No, it doesn't cost you a thing. So enjoy that blessing. That moves us into realizing that we can do a little bit of math. And let's do some subtraction and some addition. Let's subtract the T in TGIF from the front and move it to the end and get GIFT. And what we should be thanking God for every day. And that is the gift of waking up. You see, and in the moment, you see, God is for today, GIFT. And Gift Friday, with this broadcast, I'm going to share one of my original poetic messages and tell you how to use it to help start a conversation that could change someone's life, including yours, for the better. And then each poem will then be my gift to you. If you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, I'll drop it in the thread. And you'll be able to download your free colorful keepsake copy. Now, today's gift is from my book, A Poet in Every Prophet. It's kind of like a journal of all the poetry I wrote from 2001 to 2011. And let me tell you, there's a lot of moods and a lot of growth in that decade. Starting with the fact that from 1999 to 2001, I served as artist in residence at Purdue University Black Cultural Center's writers ensemble. It was called the Haraka Writers. And I dedicated the book to them. Many of them I'm still blessed to be in touch with to this day. But I dedicate the book to them because I used to call them the young prophets, which is how I actually came up with the title of the book. If you look at the word prophet, there's a poet, Poet, in the word prophet. And so that's why I came up with the title of the book, and I dedicate to them. And so if you like a copy of the book, there'll be another chance for you to see this QR code in the broadcast and scan it. Today's gift, though, is one that I wrote in 2009. And it was before I share it, I'm going to introduce a different set of prophets. These prophets were my senior citizens. I call them seasoned citizens at the Chicago Department on Aging Central West Center. I've decided to read each one of their names, who were my co-authors, who were in my class that day, who did like you've seen me doing broadcasts, where we have a theme and you volunteer words for each letter. And so I spoke with them once a month. So I have the word and I go around the room and I give them a letter, and they had to come up with a word for that letter on the spot. My challenge was then to create a poem for the next month that got all of their words into the poem. Now, I'm selfishly going to read their names here today, knowing that some of them are actually no longer alive, as well as some may not be on the broadcast. Yet, that's a part of today's gift. It's a reminder to reflect on and be happily hopeful that God is still taking the shots. And just as some of them aren't here to hear their names, some aren't in touch to hear their names. And we have to remember that line that we often hear and draw strength from, and keep drawing strength from it. And that is, God didn't bring me this far to leave me. Have you ever said that? Draw strength from that line and then keep drawing strength from it. It's driven strength. It's giving you strength. Draw more strength from it. Believe it. God didn't bring you this far to leave you. So, and here's the other thing. You may not hear every person who calls your name in thanks, yet you're here because your name is called. So I want to call names. I want to say thank you to my co-authors, Juanita Gibson, Willie Sims, and I know rest in peace for him, Clara Griffin, Latrice Crawford, Vernon Steele, Lucille Steele, rest in peace, Cleveland Wardlow Sr., and then Cleveland Wardlow Jr., Sarah Valentine, Gloria Hayes, Ardelia Anderson, who I know does watch the broadcast, Helen Mars, Mary Hart, who I know is still on my mailing list, and I hope she watches the broadcast, Rose Langworthy, Odessa Artis, Louise Smith, Phyllis Wade, and Dee Collins. All of them volunteered the following words for the creation of the poem. And our theme that day was MADE, M-A-D-E. So they gave me Martha, Mary, Mother, and Mature, Angel, Ask, Average, and Already, Deliverance, Disciples, Divine, and Evil, Eternity, and Earnest. And see, this is what I wanted to show that, because sometimes when I do my broadcast and I say to you, give me a word for each letter, the featured letter, it doesn't have, you don't have to know where the poem is going or where the broadcast is going. Just give me a word that begins. So you can see that many of these words almost have no relationship at all. But that becomes the beauty and the challenge. And again, you can use, this is called creating a word bank, by the way. And you can use this when you're writing a resume, a cover letter, a poem, a letter, a song. So you just put words that go with your theme. And then when you get stuck for what word should I use, you look at in your bank and you make a withdrawal and you put it into what you need to write. So here is We Made It. And P.S., by the way, these first 4 words aren't actually in the poem. I'm sharing them because we hear so many sentences start with them. These children of today. See, so yeah, we hear that a lot, but those 4 words are the inspiration of what the actual opening line is in my poem. So here again is We Made It. These children of yesterday aren't supposed to be here today. Yes, that's us. And each of us has already outlived some sort of evil that sought to snatch us from the jaws of deliverance. Not so much because we were on the case, but because our angel is. You see, unlike Martha, our angels don't worry about the minutes because they understand that the answer is in the moments. With each step in our journey to survive, they don't judge or rate us, they adjust, and we get to be living proof that we're alive. And believe it or not, our angels don't have names like Mary or Joseph. They have places in our hearts and titles that can't tarnish: mother, father, daughter, son, and the list goes on. They're a divine mixture of the average and mature. They're our disciples, dedicated to making life fun. They've been around for an eternity, and they know the way. So our earnest prayer is to listen and learn. Our patience in prayer reminds us that our ship has come in. Oops. That our ship has come in. Not only is it our time, but it's our turn. We made it. If you like a copy, I don't want to say that last line again, by the way. Think about it. You know, some say, hey, it's not our time. Yeah, it may be your time, but it might not be your turn. You know, people say, my ship, I'm waiting for my ship to come in. Yeah, when your ship comes in, when, you know, things work out for the way you want them to or seem to, it still might not be your time to receive that blessing. It still might not be your turn, right? It may be your time. Yeah, my ship came in. Yeah, it might be your time for the ship to come in, but it might not. Now that it's come in, maybe there's other people with that same prayer. And so you have to take turns receiving the blessing, okay? You're not the only one waiting for that ship to come in. The ship is coming in for everyone. That's why we have to remind ourselves that we are not alone. That's why it goes back to that line, you know, God didn't bring you this far to leave you, because he's not going to leave you alone. So remember that sometimes your ship may come in. It may be your time, but it might not be your turn. Yet your ship may come in. It may be your time and it may be your turn. And in so many instances, that's what we have to look at, is that it's been our turn a lot and we made it. So if you like a copy of the poem, it'll be available in the thread. If you like a copy of the book or would like to sign up and receive my free monthly fun letter, The Golden Brick Road, scan the QR code and have a ball while you're at the site. You'll find some free things to download at my site as well, at my store. And as well as my newest offering of what I call tease shirts, not t-shirts, tease shirts, that you can purchase for as low as $21 a piece, depending on how many you buy. And you can, that's why I call it Got Four Friends. If you and four other people each buy a shirt, instead of $30 a piece, that's a 30% discount, and they come down to $21 a piece. But the mailing goes to one address. So you want to make that, coordinate that, whether you use 4 friends, 3 friends, 2 friends, or another. Okay. But you'll see that when you look at it. All right. So that, and I call them tease shirts because it's a part of the message. As you see my affirmations: love, LILOVE, let ourselves value everyone. Everyone is an important piece of the puzzle. So that's a part of the message. The full message is actually on the store in the description, but also when I do broadcasts like these. Okay. So I'm Sporty King, and I'm wishing you a happy Gift Friday. TGIT. Thank God it's today and tonight, and have a happy gift weekend. But be safe and remember that God is absolutely for today. And not only that, but you've made it. Thank you. God bless you, and stay safe. Peace. And I do a 5-second countdown before I hang up, in case you person who's watching live want to get your name in there, because I'll call your name out, right? So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. He is the one, and so are you. God bless you. Peace.